The twin suns of Carthos burned high in the orange sky, their light falling over the sprawling trade city of Venar. The air was thick with dust, smoke, and the sound of merchants shouting from every corner of the bazaar. Strange creatures from many worlds crowded the narrow streets, selling metals, machines, spices, and even weapons. But in the darker alleys, behind guarded gates, another kind of market existed. This one was not for spices or metals. It was the market of chains. Here, frightened beings were kept in cages. Most were thin, hungry, and broken in spirit. Alien slavers, tall and cruel, moved between the cages, shouting numbers and prices. Some buyers laughed as they poked at captives. Others bargained loudly, treating lives as if they were nothing more than objects. In the smallest cage near the front sat a girl. She was no more than 8 or 9 years old. Her skin shimmered faintly blue under the suns, and her large silver eyes were filled with silent fear. She was called Lyra, though no one in this place cared to know her name. To them, she was only Lot 47. Her clothes were torn, her tiny hands clutched the bars tightly, and though she did not speak, her eyes begged for freedom. She remembered her home once, a quiet village on the green world of Aesir, filled with laughter and warm light. But that was before the soldiers came, before fire fell from the skies, before her family vanished. Now she was here, alone, waiting to be bought. Among the crowd walked a man not like the others. His clothes were rough but sturdy, an old military jacket, worn boots, and a belt with a blaster at his side. His hair was touched with gray, though his face was still strong, lined with the scars of many battles. This was Captain Marcus Hale, once a soldier of Earth's frontier guard, now a wanderer of the stars. Marcus had come to Venar only to trade for supplies, food, spare parts for his ship, and fuel for the next jump. He had no interest in the darker parts of the city. He had seen too much of war and cruelty in his life already, but fate has a way of guiding footsteps. As he passed the gates of the Market of Chains, Marcus stopped. His eyes narrowed. He had been to many worlds and seen many injustices, but something always burned inside him whenever he saw chains on the weak. He muttered under his breath. Still the same in every corner of the galaxy. People profiting on suffering. He turned to leave, but then he saw her. The little girl with silver eyes, she was not crying. She was too tired for tears. But when their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them. In her gaze, Marcus saw not just fear, but a quiet plea, a voice without sound, a spark of life not yet broken. He froze for a moment, feeling something twist deep inside his chest. He remembered another time years ago when war had taken children from their homes. He remembered swearing he would never again look away when he had the power to stop it. Marcus stepped forward. The slaver at the cage noticed him. The creature was tall, with green scales and a cruel smile that showed rows of sharp teeth. "Ah, human traveler," the slaver hissed. "Looking to purchase? Fine stock today. Strong workers, obedient servants. This one here, Lot 47, rare species, very pretty, yes? She will fetch a high price." Marcus looked at the girl. She did not move, only stared back at him with those wide eyes. "How much?" Marcus asked flatly. The slaver grinned. "For you, good sir. 5,000 credits. Cheap, yes, very rare. Her kind is almost gone. You could make a fine profit reselling her." Marcus's jaw tightened. His hand moved slowly to his belt pouch where he kept his credits. He knew he should walk away. This was not his fight. He had a ship to maintain, a long journey ahead. But could he really leave her here? Could he let her be sold to some cruel master? His answer came without hesitation. "I'll take her," Marcus said. The slaver laughed greedily. "Ah, wise human. Very wise." He unlocked the cage, shoving Lyra forward roughly. "She is yours now. Do not lose her." Marcus stepped forward and caught the girl before she fell. She flinched at his touch, expecting another strike, but instead he lifted her gently to her feet. "You're free now," Marcus said softly. She looked up at him in confusion. The word free was almost forgotten to her. As Marcus led her away from the market, other buyers stared, whispering. Some sneered at the foolish human who spent so many credits on a child. Others frowned, recognizing Marcus's face. He had once fought in battles that shook star systems, and enemies from those wars still lingered, but Marcus ignored them all. Lyra followed closely, afraid to let go of his hand. Every step she took away from the cages felt unreal. Could it be true? Was she really not a slave anymore? They reached the edge of the city where Marcus's ship was docked. The Starhawk rested on the landing pad, its metal surface scarred from old battles yet still strong and reliable. It was not a beautiful ship, but it was a home. Marcus led her inside. The moment the door closed behind them, the sounds of the cruel market were cut off. For the first time in months, silence wrapped around her like a blanket. He knelt down to her level. "What's your name?" For a long moment she said nothing. Then, in a voice so small he barely heard it, she whispered, "Lyra." "Lyra," Marcus repeated gently. "I'm Marcus. You're safe here." She blinked, her silver eyes shining in the dim light. No one had ever said those words to her before. Marcus gave her water, real food, and a blanket. At first she only nibbled, afraid it was a trick. But slowly hunger overcame fear, and she ate. He watched quietly, saying nothing more. He knew trust could not be forced. It had to grow slowly like a seed in dry soil. When she finished, she curled up on the seat, holding the blanket close. Her eyes grew heavy, but before sleep took her, she whispered again, "Why?" Marcus frowned. "Why what? Why, you help me?" she asked. Marcus looked at her for a long time. Then he sighed. "Because no child belongs in chains." Her eyes closed. For the first time in months, Lyra slept without fear. But outside, in the city of Venar, word had already begun to spread. A human had bought Lot 47. A human had taken the rare child. Some merchants grumbled, others made plans. And in the shadows, bounty hunters whispered of easy profit. The galaxy was not kind to those who stood against slavers. And Marcus Hale had just painted a target on his back. But for now, aboard the Starhawk, a little girl slept peacefully, dreaming not of chains but of stars, and Marcus, sitting quietly at the controls, made himself a silent promise. No matter what comes, I will protect her. The Starhawk lifted from the dusty landing pad of Venar, its engines roaring as it rose into the sky. Below, the trade city shrank into a maze of metal roofs and crowded streets, and soon only the endless stretch of desert remained. The ship broke through the atmosphere and the stars opened wide above them. Marcus Hale sat in the pilot's chair, his strong hands steady on the controls. Beside him, the little alien girl, Lyra, sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat. She was wrapped in a blanket that looked too large for her small frame. Her wide silver eyes never left the window as she watched the stars appear one by one. She had never been this high before. Her world had been villages and cages. Now the whole galaxy stretched out before her. Marcus glanced at her and spoke softly. "That's freedom, kid. Every star out there is a place we could go. No chains in space." Lyra didn't answer, but her lips parted slightly as if she wanted to believe him. Hours later, the Starhawk drifted in quiet space, the hum of the engines steady. Marcus checked the systems, making sure they had enough fuel to reach the next safe world. He wanted to take Lyra somewhere far from slaver roots, somewhere she could start over. But deep inside, he knew it wouldn't be so easy. The slavers would not forget her. Rare species were worth more than gold. They would hunt him and they would not stop. Marcus pushed the thought aside for now. He had promised her safety, and he intended to keep that promise. He turned back toward Lyra. She was still watching the stars, clutching the blanket tightly. "You hungry again?" he asked. She looked at him carefully, as if trying to see if the offer was real. Then she gave a tiny nod. Marcus smiled faintly and stood. "Come on. The mess hall's this way." The mess hall was a small space with metal walls and a simple table bolted to the floor. Marcus placed a tray with bread, dried fruit, and warm soup before her. Lyra stared at it, then at him. "It's yours," Marcus said. "Eat." Slowly she picked up a piece of bread. Her hands trembled slightly as she bit into it. The taste was plain, but to her it was better than anything she'd had in months. As she ate, Marcus leaned back in his chair. "So, Lyra, right? That's your name?" She looked up and nodded carefully. "Where are you from?" he asked. Her voice was small but clearer than before. "Aye, sir." Marcus frowned. "Aye, sir. I've heard of it. A green world, lot of forest." "Yes," she whispered. For a moment her eyes softened, remembering home. "My village was near a river. My mother, she made songs at night. My father told stories." Her voice cracked and she looked down quickly. Marcus let the silence hang for a moment. Then he said quietly, "What happened?" Lyra swallowed hard. "Ships came, soldiers, they burned the sky. They took many. Some fought, but they lost. My mother told me to run, but they caught me. I don't know where she is now." Her small hands tightened on the blanket. Marcus felt a sharp pain in his chest. He had seen this too many times. Whole worlds burned, families broken, children taken. He clenched his fist. "I'm sorry, kid," he said. "No one should go through that." She didn't answer, only kept eating slowly. Later, Marcus showed her around the ship. "This here's the engine room," he said, pointing at the humming core. "Don't touch anything in here unless I'm with you. It's dangerous." She nodded seriously, her silver eyes wide as she tried to understand everything. He led her down another hall. "This is storage. Food, supplies, tools. If you need something, tell me." Finally, he stopped at a small cabin with a narrow bed. "This one's yours now. Not much, but it's yours." Lyra stepped inside slowly, almost not believing it. The bed was simple, but it was soft, and the small lamp on the wall gave a warm light. She touched the blanket carefully, as if afraid it might vanish. "You mean my room?" she whispered. "Yeah," Marcus said with a nod. "Yours." For a moment, her silver eyes shone with something new. Hope. That night, Marcus sat in the cockpit watching the stars. His thoughts were heavy. He had freed her, but what next? Could he raise her? Could he protect her from the hunters that were surely already on their way? He had fought in wars, but raising a child, that was a different kind of battle. He rubbed his forehead. "What are you doing, Hale?" "You're no father." But then he remembered her eyes when she first saw her room. The way she whispered, "my room," he sighed. Maybe he wasn't a father, but he could learn. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. Lyra stood in the doorway, holding the blanket around her shoulders. "Couldn't sleep?" Marcus asked. She shook her head. "Bad dreams." He motioned for her to sit. She climbed into the co-pilot's seat again, curling up with the blanket. "Want me to tell you something?" Marcus asked after a moment. She looked at him curiously. "Back when I was your age," Marcus began, "my father used to take me camping under the stars. No ships, no noise, just sky and silence. He'd point to the stars and say, 'Out there, Marcus, every one of those lights is a chance to start fresh. No matter how bad things get, there's always another chance out there.'" Lyra listened quietly, her eyes fixed on him. Marcus leaned back. "So, when you feel afraid, just remember, those stars mean you're not trapped anymore. You've got choices, and I'll help you find them." For a moment, silence filled the cockpit. Then Lyra whispered, "Thank you." It was the first time she had said those words since he freed her. Marcus gave her a small smile. "Get some rest, kid. Big day tomorrow." But while the Starhawk drifted peacefully, danger was already moving. In a dark chamber back on Venar, the slaver who sold Lyra hissed angrily to a group of armored hunters. "The human took her. The little Icer girl. He stole profit from me. I want her back. Alive if possible, dead if not." The hunters grinned, their weapons gleaming. One of them tapped a screen, bringing up Marcus Hale's face. "A human veteran," the hunter growled. "This will be fun." The slaver's eyes narrowed. "Find him. Bring her back. The market of chains will not forgive theft." And so the hunt began. Back on the Starhawk, Lyra finally fell asleep in her cabin. She dreamed of her mother's songs and her father's stories. But mixed in those dreams was a new image. A man with kind eyes who said no child belonged in chains. For the first time in months, her dream was not all shadows. There was light. And Marcus, sitting alone in the cockpit, kept his silent watch, his hand resting on the blaster at his side. He knew the storm was coming, but he also knew one thing for certain. Whatever it took, he would not let them take her again. The hum of the Starhawk's engines filled the silence of deep space. Marcus Hale sat in the cockpit, scanning the star charts. Lyra sat beside him, her small hands resting on the edge of the console. She watched him work, eyes full of curiosity. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. Marcus tapped a glowing map. "There's a station called Arian's Rest, neutral ground. We can get supplies, refuel, and maybe find someone I trust. Shouldn't take more than 2 jumps." Lyra nodded, though she didn't fully understand. All she knew was that Marcus's ship felt safe, and as long as he was near, the fear in her chest lessened. Marcus glanced at her. "You ever flown before?" She shook her head quickly. "Well," Marcus said, pressing a few buttons, "now's a good time to learn. Put your hand here." Carefully, she placed her tiny hand on the lever he pointed to. He guided her fingers. "See this? That's the stabilizer control? You move it when the ship shakes. Keeps us steady. Her silver eyes widened. I can help fly? Marcus smiled faintly. That's right. You're part of the crew now. For the first time since he'd met her, Lyra's lips curved into the smallest smile, but far behind them, hunters moved in silence. A black ship cut through the void, sleek and deadly. Inside, a crew of alien bounty hunters prepared their weapons. Their leader, a tall figure in dark armor with glowing red eyes, studied the tracker in his hand. A signal pulsed. The human ship, he growled. Starhawk. He left Venar 3 cycles ago. His trail is fresh. One of the hunters hissed. The girl is rare. The slavers want her alive. But the human? The leader's lips pulled into a cruel grin. The human is mine. On the Starhawk, Marcus was teaching Lyra more about the ship. This button here adjusts shields, he explained. If someone fires at us, you raise them. Her brow furrowed. Why would someone fire at us? Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to frighten her, but he knew lying was worse. Because there are people who want you back. Bad people. They don't like that I took you. Lyra's small fingers tightened on the blanket draped over her shoulders. They'll come? Marcus met her gaze firmly. They'll try. But I won't let them. Not while I'm breathing. She studied his face, then nodded slowly. She wanted to believe him. And in her heart she did. Hours passed. Stars stretched into bright lines as the Starhawk entered hyperspace. The hum of the jump drive was steady, almost soothing. Lyra eventually curled up in the co-pilot's seat and fell asleep, her head resting against the blanket. Marcus watched her for a moment. She looked so small, so fragile, yet he had seen sparks of strength in her, the way she had survived, the way she was beginning to trust again. She's tougher than she knows, Marcus muttered, but his thoughts were interrupted by a sharp alarm from the console. Marcus frowned. What now? He checked the screen. His blood ran cold. A ship had locked onto their trail. Moments later, the Starhawk shook violently. Lyra woke with a cry, gripping the seat. What's happening? She asked, her voice trembling. Hunters, Marcus growled, pulling levers. Hold on! The stars twisted as he yanked the ship out of hyperspace. Before them, a dark vessel appeared, its weapons glowing with deadly light. Marcus, Lyra whispered. He gritted his teeth. Don't worry, kid. We're not going down without a fight. The enemy ship fired. Bright plasma bolts streaked across the void. Marcus slammed the stabilizer lever, guiding the Starhawk into a roll. Lyra, shields, now! Her eyes widened, but she remembered his lesson. She pressed the glowing button with trembling fingers. A blue shimmer flared around the ship just as the next blast struck. The Starhawk shook but held. That's it, Marcus shouted. Good work. Her chest heaved with fear, but also a strange pride. She had helped. The chase began. The Starhawk darted between asteroid fields, weaving through rocks the size of cities. Plasma fire streaked past, explosions lighting the darkness. Marcus's hands moved fast, every muscle focused. Marcus! Lyra cried as a blast grazed the hull. Sparks flew from the console. We're okay, he said firmly. Hang on. He twisted the ship hard, diving into a narrow gap between 2 massive stones. The enemy vessel followed, its engines howling. Lyra clutched the blanket tighter, but her eyes stayed on Marcus. He looked calm, steady, like nothing could shake him. Somehow that made her less afraid. The leader of the hunters growled inside his ship. The human is skilled, but he can't run forever. He signaled to his crew. Deploy drones. Small hunter drones shot out, swarming after the Starhawk like a pack of wolves. Marcus saw them on the scanner. Damn, they're bringing friends. He flipped a switch. Kid, I need your help again. See that panel? Lyra looked quickly. Yes! Those are countermeasures. Hit the red switch when I say. She nodded, her hands trembling over the button. The drones closed in, their weapons glowing. Marcus waited, weaving the ship through the rocks. The drones tightened their formation. Now, he barked. Lyra slammed the red switch. The Starhawk's belly opened, releasing bursts of flares and magnetic charges. The drones swarmed straight into the trap. Explosions lit up the void as half of them were torn apart. Lyra gasped, eyes wide. I did it? Marcus grinned. You did it. Nice work, co-pilot. For the first time she beamed, but the battle wasn't over. The hunter ship loomed closer, charging a heavy cannon. Marcus knew one hit from that would finish them. He cursed under his breath. No choice. He pushed the engines to maximum. The Starhawk roared forward, scraping past asteroids, sparks flying. The hunter ship followed, firing blast after blast. Finally, Marcus spotted a narrow tunnel in a giant asteroid. "Barely big enough for his ship. Hold on tight," he shouted. The Starhawk plunged into the tunnel. Rocks scraped the hull, alarms blared, but Marcus held steady. The hunter ship tried to follow, but it was too large. With a deafening crash, it struck the edges of the tunnel, sparks and flames bursting across its hull. Marcus shot out the other side, gasping for breath. That bought us some time. Lyra clutched her blanket, her chest rising and falling fast. But in her eyes was awe. "You're amazing." Marcus shook his head. "Just stubborn." The Starhawk limped forward, smoke trailing from its engines. Systems flickered, shields weakened, but they were alive. Marcus set the course again, his voice calm. "Arian's rest isn't far. We'll make it." Lyra sat quietly beside him, staring at the stars. Her fear was still there, but something else had joined it. Trust. She had seen Marcus fight for her, risk everything for her, and in her heart, a fragile hope grew stronger. Far behind them, the hunter ship drifted damaged, sparks flickering across its hull. Inside, the leader slammed his fist against the console. "The human escaped," he growled. His eyes blazed with fury. "But he won't run forever. The girl is too valuable. We will find them again." He leaned close to the screen where Marcus Hale's face still glowed. "You cannot protect her, human. Not from me." But Marcus did not hear those words. He sat in the cockpit of the Starhawk, one hand on the controls, the other resting near the sleeping child beside him. He whispered to himself, "I'll protect her, no matter what it takes." And the stars stretched before them, endless and bright, as the fragile bond between human and alien child grew stronger with every passing hour. The Starhawk floated quietly through the black sea of space, its hull scarred from the chase. Sparks still flickered along one side of the engine, and several warning lights glowed red on the cockpit console. Marcus Hale leaned forward, adjusting controls with steady hands. His jaw was tight, his eyes narrowed. Every creak of the ship reminded him of how close they had come to destruction. Beside him, Lyra sat with her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her silver eyes were wide, watching him work. She had barely spoken since the fight, but she had not let go of the co-pilot's seat. Marcus exhaled. "We got lucky back there." "Lucky?" Lyra whispered. He nodded. "Yeah, the hunters were better armed. Bigger ship. But they didn't know the Starhawk. Didn't know me," he glanced at her. "And I had a co-pilot who kept her cool." Her small cheeks warmed. She looked down but allowed herself a tiny smile. Hours later, Marcus guided the Starhawk toward a massive space station. It hung against the stars like a floating city, its surface glittering with lights. Ships of every shape came and went through its docking bays. "That's Arian's Rest," Marcus explained. "Neutral ground. No slavers allowed, at least not openly. We'll refuel here, fix the ship, and keep our heads down." Lyra pressed her face to the window, amazed by the sight. She had never seen such a place. "Stay close to me inside," Marcus warned. "This place isn't safe for kids, but you'll be fine as long as you're with me." She nodded quickly. The docking clamps locked onto the Starhawk with a thud. As the hatch opened, the noise of the station flooded in. Shouting traders, beeping machines, the clang of boots on metal floors. The smell of oil, smoke, and alien food drifted through the air. Marcus stepped out, scanning the crowd carefully. His hand rested on the blaster at his belt. Lyra walked at his side, gripping his coat tightly. "Eyes open," Marcus murmured. They moved through the crowded hall. Lyra's gaze darted from one strange alien to another. Creatures with scaled faces, glowing eyes, mechanical limbs. She shrank closer to Marcus, overwhelmed. He glanced down at her. "You're safe. Don't worry." She took a shaky breath and nodded. Marcus led her to a workshop at the edge of the station. A heavy metal door slid open, and inside was a clutter of spare parts, glowing tools, and the smell of grease. A broad-shouldered man with cybernetic arms looked up from his workbench. His face broke into a grin. "Marcus Hale. Thought you were dead." Marcus chuckled. "Not yet, Dex." The mechanic Dex clasped Marcus's arm firmly. "What brings you here?" "And who's this?" Lyra shrank behind Marcus's leg. "This is Lyra," Marcus said simply. "She's with me." Dex's eyes softened. He crouched down, lowering his voice. "Hey there, little one." "No need to be scared." Lyra peeked out but said nothing. Dex stood again, his face turning serious. You've got that look, Marcus. Trouble? Marcus exhaled. Slavers. I pulled her out of their market on Venar. Dex's grin vanished. You stole from the chains? They'll burn the stars to get her back. I know, Marcus said. That's why I need repairs. And maybe information. Dex nodded grimly. You'll get both. While Dex worked on the Starhawk, Marcus took Lyra to a small corner of the station cafe. He ordered warm food for her, nothing fancy but filling. She ate quietly, though her eyes kept drifting around the room. Strange beings stared at her now and then, whispering to one another. Marcus noticed and shifted his seat to block their view. After a while, Lyra asked softly, Marcus, why do they want me so much? He hesitated. He had been asking himself the same question. To the slavers she was valuable, but there was something more. The hunters had chased too hard, risked too much. She wasn't just another captive, I don't know yet, he admitted. But I'll find out. She lowered her gaze, clutching her blanket. That night, Dex returned with information. He slid a glowing tablet across the table to Marcus. You were right to ask. I checked the slavers' records. They weren't just selling her as Lot 47. There's a symbol listed with her file. Marcus frowned. What symbol? Dex tapped the screen. A glowing crest appeared, a circle with 3 curved lines inside. Lyra gasped softly. She pulled back her sleeve. On her arm, faint under her skin, was the same mark. Marcus's eyes widened. It's real? She nodded, her voice trembling. My mother told me it was our people's sign. She said, it meant I was born from the old line. The blood of the first voice. Marcus stared at her. Royalty. Dex whistled low. That's why they want her. Not just rare stock. She's heir to something. Marcus leaned back, his mind racing. If Lyra truly carried royal blood, she wasn't just a child stolen by slavers. She was a symbol. If her people ever rose again, she could lead them, and the slavers knew it. That was why they hunted her so fiercely. Later, in the quiet of her cabin on the Starhawk, Marcus knelt beside Lyra. Why didn't you tell me before? He asked gently. She lowered her eyes. Because it only brings danger. My parents said never to show the mark. When the soldiers came, they searched for it. They wanted me. If people know, they'll chase us forever. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. They'll chase us anyway. But listen, being who you are isn't a curse. It's hope. For your people. Maybe for more than your people. Her eyes shimmered with tears. But I'm just a child. I can't save anyone. Marcus looked at her firmly. You don't have to right now. You just have to survive. One step at a time. You survived the cages. You survived the hunters. That's more strength than most grown warriors have. Slowly, she nodded. But their quiet moment did not last. As the Starhawk's repairs neared completion, alarms blared across the station. Dex rushed in, his face pale. They found you, he said quickly. The hunters are here. Marcus cursed under his breath. He grabbed his blaster and turned to Lyra. Stay close. No matter what. She nodded, fear in her eyes, but resolve growing. The station's main hall erupted with chaos. Hunters in dark armor stormed through the crowd, their leader at the front. His red eyes scanned the area, glowing like fire. Human hail, he roared. His voice echoed like thunder. You stole what is mine. Give me the child and I may let you live. Marcus stepped forward, blaster drawn. She's not yours. She was never yours. The leader's grin was sharp. You don't understand, human. That girl is worth empires. Her blood will buy me power beyond your imagining. You can't protect her. Marcus raised his blaster. Watch me. The hall exploded into battle. Blaster fire lit the air. Civilians screamed and scattered. Marcus dove behind a pillar, firing precise shots that struck down hunters one by one. Lyra crouched beside him, clutching her blanket tightly. Her heart pounded, but she did not run. She kept her eyes on him, waiting for his word. Stay low. Marcus shouted, firing again. We'll get to the ship. Dex appeared from another corridor, wielding a heavy plasma cannon. Go, I'll cover you. Marcus grabbed Lyra's hand and dashed toward the docking bay. Hunters swarmed after them, their weapons cutting through walls and floors. The leader's voice boomed above the chaos. You cannot run, human. The girl is mine. They reached the Starhawk just as Dex's cannon roared behind them. Marcus shoved Lyra aboard, then turned and fired one last shot to keep the hunters back. The hatch sealed shut. Engines now, Marcus barked. The Starhawk roared to life, tearing free from the docking clamps. Blaster fire from the hunter's ship chased them, but Marcus pushed the thrusters to full burn. The station shrank behind them. In the cockpit, Marcus's face was grim. They know what you are now. There's no hiding anymore. Lyra sat beside him, her silver eyes wide but steady. Then we fight. Marcus looked at her, surprised, her small hands clenched into fists. They'll never put me in chains again. Not while you're with me. For the first time, her voice carried not just fear, but strength. Marcus nodded slowly. Then we fight. The Starhawk streaked across the black sea of space, engines straining under Marcus Hale's steady hands. The stars outside blurred into streaks of light as the ship dove into hyperspace. Lyra sat in the co-pilot's chair, her silver eyes fixed on the viewport. She said nothing for a long time. Her small hands trembled, but her face stayed calm. Marcus finally spoke. You okay? She nodded slowly. I'm not afraid anymore. They can chase us, but they will not own me again. Marcus looked at her with quiet pride. That's the spirit. Still, his heart was heavy. He knew the truth. They hadn't won. They had only bought time. The hunters had learned who Lyra was. Now they would call more ships, more armies. The galaxy itself might rise against her. Marcus tightened his grip on the controls. If they want her, they'll have to go through me. Hours later, Marcus brought the Starhawk out of hyperspace near a dead world on the edge of the system. The planet below was dark, its surface scarred by ancient battles. This place, Lyra whispered. It feels familiar. Marcus raised a brow. You've been here before? She shook her head. No, but the stories... My mother told me about the first voice. She said the old palace was hidden on a world that no one remembered. Maybe this is it, Marcus frowned. If that's true, the hunters will come here too. They'll know what you know. Lyra looked at him, her eyes steady. Then we must reach the palace first. They landed on the surface, the Starhawk's landing struts kicking up dust. The air outside was thin and cold. Marcus pulled on his coat and checked his blaster. Lyra wrapped her blanket around her shoulders and walked beside him. The ruins stretched out across the land. Black towers had crumbled into broken stone. Ancient carvings glowed faintly in the dust, symbols of a people long forgotten. Lyra's eyes widened. She traced one of the carvings with her fingers. The same circle and lines mark glowed faintly on the wall, matching the one on her arm. It's real, she whispered. This was my people's home. Marcus rested a hand on her shoulder. Then let's find what they left behind. They moved deeper into the ruins, the wind howling through the broken halls. Strange echoes filled the air like voices long gone. At the heart of the ruins they found it. A great hall with a throne of stone, cracked but still standing. On the walls were symbols of light shifting faintly as if alive. Lyra stepped forward slowly. The mark on her arm began to glow brighter. Marcus watched carefully, blaster ready. He had seen too many traps to trust ancient places. But when Lyra touched the throne, the symbols lit up across the room. A voice echoed through the hall. It was not flesh and blood, but something old, like the memory of her people. Child of the line, you carry the voice of the first. The chains of your people can be broken, but you must choose, hide forever or stand and fight. Lyra trembled. I'm only a girl. The voice replied. Even the smallest voice can awaken hope. Marcus stepped forward, standing beside her. She's not alone. If she fights, I fight with her. The voice faded. The throne glowed brighter, and a hidden chamber opened at the back of the hall. Inside lay a crystal core, pulsing with energy. Marcus stared. What is that? Lyra whispered. The heart of the first voice. It holds the memory of my people. She turned to Marcus, her silver eyes glowing softly. If the hunters take it, they will use it to enslave more worlds. We cannot let them. Marcus nodded grimly. Then we guard it. To the last, the ground shook violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Marcus cursed under his breath. They're here. Outside the ruins, ships descended from the sky. Dark-armored hunters poured out, weapons blazing. At their head was the leader. His red eyes glowing like fire, his voice boomed across the ruins. Human hail, you cannot hide forever. The girl belongs to me. Surrender her and I may grant you mercy. Marcus stepped out of the hall, blaster in hand. I've heard that before. You'll get the same answer, the leader sneered. Then you will die screaming. The battle began, blaster fire lit the ruins. Marcus moved with deadly precision, his shots striking hunters one by one. He used broken pillars for cover, his years of experience guiding every move. Lyra crouched inside the hall, holding the glowing crystal core. Her heart raced, but she remembered Marcus's words, one step at a time, survive. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please, help us." The mark on her arm flared brightly. The crystal core answered, its light flooding the hall. Energy rippled through the ruins, shaking the ground. Outside, Marcus stumbled as a wave of light burst from the hall. The hunters cried out, their armor sparking. The ruins themselves seemed to rise against them, walls shifting, ancient weapons awakening. Marcus looked back in shock. Lyra stood in the hall, her small figure glowing with silver light. The leader roared, "The heir awakens." "Stop her!" He charged forward, his massive blade raised. Marcus fired, but the leader's armor deflected the shots. The hunter slammed into him, knocking him to the ground. Marcus rolled, barely avoiding the blade's strike. The leader snarled, "You are nothing, human. You cannot stop me." Marcus spat blood, forcing himself to his feet. "Maybe, but I'm not alone." He glanced toward the hall. Lyra's light grew stronger, filling the ruins with power. The leader stormed into the hall, blade raised high. "Child, you will come with me." Lyra lifted the crystal core, her silver eyes blazing. "No, I will never be your slave." The leader struck. His blade slashed down, but Marcus threw himself in front of her. His blaster shattered in the blow, but he stood his ground, pushing back with everything he had. "You'll never touch her," he roared. The leader snarled, forcing Marcus back. The blade cut into his coat, sparks flying, but then the crystal flared, releasing a surge of light. The energy burst outward, striking the leader's armor. He screamed as the power burned through him, his body thrown across the hall. The hunters outside cried out as the same light swept over them. Their weapons shattered. Their ships cracked. One by one they fell. The ruins fell silent. Marcus staggered, catching his breath. The leader's armor lay shattered, his red eyes dim. Lyra lowered the crystal, trembling. She rushed to Marcus's side. "Are you hurt?" He smiled faintly. "Had worse." She clung to him, tears running down her cheeks. I thought I'd lose you." He rested a hand on her shoulder. "Not today." When the dust settled, the ruins glowed softly. The crystal returned to its resting place in the throne, safe once more. Lyra stood before it, her small figure steady. The voice of the first voice echoed again. "You have chosen, child of the line. You stood against the chains. Your people's hope lives in you," Lyra whispered. "I will not run anymore. I will carry their hope." Marcus stepped beside her. "And I'll make sure you live long enough to see it through." The voice faded, leaving only silence. Back aboard the Starhawk, the engines roared to life. The ruins shrank behind them as the ship lifted into the stars. Lyra sat in the co-pilot's chair, no longer trembling. She looked at Marcus, her silver eyes bright with determination. "What now?" she asked. Marcus leaned back in his seat. "Now we keep moving. There'll be more hunters, more battles. But we'll face them together," Lyra nodded. "Together." For the first time she smiled, not the fragile smile of a frightened child, but the strong smile of someone who had found her place. Marcus looked at her and allowed himself a smile too. The galaxy was wide, the dangers endless. But he had made a promise, and he would keep it. She was free, and as long as he breathed, she always would be. The Starhawk vanished into hyperspace, carrying a human warrior and a little alien girl. No longer just survivors, but a family forged in fire.